morning and welcome to the Jones Index here on Fuse Logic TV. I'm joined again today with Sukkjit Randhawa. How are you doing today,
Good,
Sukkjit?
Brenda, how are you?
Good, good. With Ocean Developments, and we've got a really exciting show lined up for you today. We've got a couple of guests. One we're going to be Skyping in with. It's Mr. Paul Kammeyer from Belize Shores Realty down in the Belize area. Paul originally hails from the States and 5 years ago moved down into the Belize area and is very excited to share some of what's going on in specifically the commercial end of real estate down there. We've seen a real big upswing down there, so we're excited to have Paul in and tell us a little bit about what's going on. So welcome, Paul.
Well, thank you very much, Brenda.
There you are. Good to see you. And Paul, where are you sitting right now?
Right now in a hotel room in Nashville.
In Nashville. That sounds great. Well, I understand the weather's a little somewhere between where we are at minus 25 and where Belize is at 85. So
Yeah, we're about 55, so it's not a bad day at all.
Not a bad day. Well, that's great. Well, Paul, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your real estate background and actually how you ended up down in the Belize area.
Sure, certainly. We started coming to Belize back in about 2003. And really just for vacation the first time. First time we got down there, it took 3 or 4 days to really unwind and relax enough to enjoy. And that's one thing we figured out that you've got to do is to spend enough time down there to just relax and enjoy. But the second time we went down then, we did a tour of the mainland and really fell in love with the country. We owned resorts and convenience stores in Arizona, eastern Arizona at the time. Had those on the market and ready to sell them, so we were actually looking for commercial property. What I found was that most agents at the time, and this was almost 8-9 years ago now, really didn't have a commercial background, so they didn't have the information necessary for a real good evaluation of a purchase. So we found a real estate office that was for sale at the time and decided to uproot in Arizona and move to Belize and open a commercial real estate company. So that's what we've been doing ever since about 2006 is about when we went down, when we sold the resort, early 6. It's been a real eye-opener. It's a different way of life, trying to sell real estate in more or less an uncontrolled real estate environment. But we've learned a lot and made a lot of friends and definitely are enjoying it, that's for sure.
Well, that's great. That's terrific. Now, in the 5 years that you've been there, what have you seen occur sort of in the San Pedro area and specifically Ambergris Caye?
Well, early on in this 2006, 2007, of course, there was a lot of activity, both commercially and residentially. 2008 came along and people started seeing the brakes coming to a screeching halt. So 2008, 2009, and early 2010 slowed down quite a lot. But what I've seen mostly, I think, is the age and gender changes. It came down in the early 2000s. The average age of the tourists and visitors was, I would put them in the, about our age, my age, the 50s. Early 60s. As time went on, I think in 9 and early 10, I see the age group coming down quite a lot. And I see more people in their 30s and 40s, even into their 20s, more than I used to. So I don't know whether that's an indication of economics or whether it's an indication of people traveling more, maybe a little bit at an earlier age. I'm not quite sure, but that's the biggest change I've seen. On the real estate side, the last 6 months has been just a tremendous change from the last 3 years. I see a lot more interest, a lot more you can really turn into real buyers. It just takes them a while to learn. And I see a lot more interest in the last 6 months than I have the last 2 years, actually. So some great changes are coming about in San Pedro, some great changes in the whole country, to be honest.
So Ambergris Caye sort of seems to be the place where most people will travel to when coming to Belize. Why is that? What is so special about Ambergris Caye?
Well, I think what you see in Ambergris is that you have kind of a combination of the Central American attitude with the Caribbean hospitality and the Caribbean ambiance. We're more of a Caribbean island than we are Central America, but yet we've still got Central America right next door. So Belize itself, of course, is a Central American country. So it has more of a little bit more Spanish heritage, where once you come out to the island, even though the people are the same, the atmosphere is a lot different because it takes on more of a Caribbean flair than the mainland does. And of course, most people do come to San Pedro, but that's slowly changing. I mean, you see Placentia, San Ignacio, Corozal, they're all starting to kind of come of their own, especially Placentia. I would say that percentage-wise, probably 60 to 70% still come to San Pedro, but closer to 40, 50% are now starting to go to Placentia and some other areas because it's just gaining more popularity.
And I'm sure having some of the star status that's down and around the area helps that a little bit.
It does, yeah, but you actually see them in other places too. The ecology-minded stars you'll see in the Corozal and San Ignacio area. The Caribbean-minded stars you'll still see in the San Pedro area, of course.
That's great. That's great. So now you've been there for 5 years. Do you see yourself leaving anytime soon? Or do you have your roots firmly planted?
Not soon for sure. We're basically travelers. We've lived the different corners of the United States through our lives, and we love to travel. So we've kind of settled in San Pedro and Belize for, the past 5 years, probably another good 5 to 10 years, somewhere in that area as things develop. I really like watching the country grow because when we first came there, it felt like we stepped off the airplane and stepped back into the 50s and 60s, as far as the way things looked, the way people acted, hospitality, friendship, all those things going along with it. So as that gradually changes, I'm sure we'll probably do some more traveling, but I just don't know where yet.
Well, that's great. Now, with the clients coming in, which areas do you find them coming in from? Like, who are your clients and what are they buying?
Right now, I'd say we see a lot of clients, of course, from Canada, from the Winnipeg area especially. We get a lot of people down from Winnipeg, Toronto.
It's because it's so darn cold here. We need that warmth.
Yeah. No, I realize that. Of course, it's been cold all over the United States this year too. So we have a lot coming down from Colorado. As a matter of fact, have a whole group coming down sometime in March. There's like 15 people coming down all at once. So that's pretty much it. Now, once the new Placentia airport down between Dangriga and Placentia opens up, we're going to start seeing a lot more European travel because it's going to be easier to get to Belize from Europe. Right now, most people come through either Cancun or Miami, and it's just a little more difficult for them, a lot more time-consuming. So once that happens, I think our demographics are going to change quite a bit, I hope anyway.
Well, I'm going to let Suki ask you some questions here, Paul, and then we're going to have to wrap up. But it's been just so great having you on here. So Suki?
Paul, first of all, thank you for joining us today from Nashville. And just to let you know that I'll be down in San Pedro in about 3 weeks' time, and we'll meet there. And hopefully you'll be back from your trip to the United States.
You bet I will.
I was telling Brenda about your comments the other day regarding the commercial aspect of the market growing exponentially in the last 6 months, as you stated. And is that a good sign for the residential side as well?
I certainly believe so. I mean, one of the reasons that the residential side hasn't changed a lot in the last year and a half, probably, is because a lot of the developments that we're developing, of course, got held up because of financing and whatever other reasons there were, mostly financing. Now with the banks letting go of some money, private investment getting more popular again, once the residential developments get finished and more progress is shown, we're going to see an upswing in residential purchase also, I believe, because there is more money. Plus, we're starting to see some private interest in investment money for lending to the end user, which is going to help tremendously.
Well, that's terrific. Paul, we just thank you so much again for joining us, and we look forward to going on a tour with you when you're down there. We'd love to see some of these exclusive properties that you've got going on, and there's a couple of those little islands on your website that I think we might need to visit as well. Terrific. Paul, thank you again.
Anytime.
Terrific. So Paul Kammeyer from Belize Shores Realty. Thank you so much.
Belize is full of many natural wonders. That is true. But one of the most appealing characteristics isn't as obvious as a stone pyramid or lush jungle. It's the people of Belize themselves. Belizeans hail from many countries and cultures. Take a look at this traditional Garifuna dancer. Find the people here have more in common with countries in the Caribbean than our Central American neighbors. The culture is a unique blend of African, Caribbean, Mestizo, and British influences. And all of these people and cultures mix successfully into something distinctly Belizean. The Creole are a fascinating people. They speak English, but they've also developed their own dialect. That dancer we saw earlier is Garifuna. They're the artistic soul of Belize. Stirred into this melting pot are the Mayan Indians. The Mayans are traditionally farmers and are stewards of the land. In Belize, every day is a reason to celebrate, and Belizeans have no shortage of festivals and holidays. Garifuna Settlement Day, a joyous jubilee of music, food, and dancing, commemorates the arrival of the Garifuna to Belize on November 19th. For La Ruta Maya, a traditional canoe race held for 5 days in March, nearly the entire country turns out to watch and cheer. And Carnival, an explosion of color, song, and celebration for all that are lucky to participate. If you're around, you'll see for yourself. Lots of different people make up Belize for sure, but we all manage to live together in peaceful harmony, and we're just as friendly to visitors. As they say in Creole, Ala we make up Belize. We the one.
Thank you and welcome back to the Jones Index here on Fuse Logic Television. We're back again with Sukkjit Randhawa from Ocean Developments. And Sukkjit, this was a great little clip on people, the people in Belize. And I know you've talked many times about some of the great relationships that you've made while in Belize. And not only Belize, but some of the other places that you're doing real estate in the world. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Brenda, any business that you ever enter into, it's always based on relationships.
Absolutely.
And whether it's Alberta or Belize or any place in the world, good people, you get to know each other and you can do things, and you can develop those relationships to the point of creating successful businesses wherever you happen to be or where you happen to travel. And Belize is just one of those places. And over the years, we've made some good relationships there in Canada through the real estate investments and stuff. We have good friends here. Bob Dylan is one,
right,
from Main Street. And he and I are going to be going down to Belize actually in about 3 weeks. And maybe in the same time as you might be going down.
Right.
And just going over, reviewing what we're going to be doing there with all the other new developments that are taking place. And it's an exciting time to be there right now. Everyone has opened up their wallets again.
Exactly, as Paul was stating.
As Paul was stating, right?
For sure.
And so it's just not a Belize phenomenon. It's Alberta. We're seeing it. We're seeing it in Asia. We're seeing it all over the place. People are relaxing.
So the buzz is starting to happen. Like you say, lenders are loosening up and things are starting to flow again.
Lenders are starting to loosen up, but more importantly, investors are starting to loosen up.
Yeah.
And that's key.
Yeah,
right.
Well, for sure, and they're seeing some great opportunities out there, and we're certainly presenting one of them for you today.
I'm reminded of one ad that I see on a TV show, and the gentleman says, "Opportunity comes in times of turbulence."
Oh, most certainly.
In storms.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're seeing.
You've just got to be able to be ready to jump on it when it comes.
It's not going to be given to you, but you have to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and do your due diligence.
And due diligence, of course, that's always key. But we're picking up, we're looking at a product in Miami, and at rock bottom prices.
Sure.
Belize, same thing. Rock bottom prices compared to, just a reference at where we are in Pigeon Lake. right? We're paying $500,000 in Pigeon Lake for a lake lot, and we can buy a similar lot in Belize, waterfront, oceanfront,
Yeah.
at $80,000 to $200,000.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Right.
Now, you've also got some stuff going on in around the Singapore area as well, in the Southeast Asia.
Yeah, we've started a couple of years ago, actually, Brenda, and set up a private equity fund out of Singapore, and for really just to raise funds out of that region for investments within North America and also in Southeast Asia, in emerging markets like India and Vietnam and Cambodia and Malaysia and all that's Asia Pacific region.
Well, we're going to tie in a couple of our other guests into some later shows to talk about some of those other regions as well. And I know that even through this show, you've opened up and made some really great contacts through some connects here. So we're excited to eventually have some of those.
Actually, one contact that we do have that I had before, but we just spoke yesterday out of New York, and they're very excited about working with us, and they are just amazed by what we're doing on this show, actually.
Terrific.
And I spoke to her yesterday, and she wants to actually fly down to Calgary or Edmonton or Belize to sit with Bob and I and to see what synergies we can create and to leverage both her services and products.
Both businesses. Yeah. Well, that's terrific, and that's what we're all about here on the Jones Index is connecting. So we're so glad to hear that. So we just wanted to welcome well wishes to our New York audience, the Miami audience, and those all around the world. So we're going to take another little clip, and we're going to be right back with Ruben Francois from Holywood Realty.
Welcome, my friend, to Belize. The rainforest is the heart of Belize. Heads up! The trees of Belize are alive with over 500 species of birds. Everything from the majestic king vulture to the brilliant colors of the keel-billed toucan, making this a bird watcher's paradise. In Belize, we have more birds than clouds in the sky. Ah, yes, the rainforest is truly a natural treasure. And in Belize you can see, hear, smell, and feel it.
Hi, and welcome back again to the Jones Index here on FuseLogic TV. We're back this section again with Sukkjit Randhawa from Ocean Developments, and we've got another wonderful gentleman on our phone here. His name is Ruben Francois from Holywood Realty of Belize. Ruben, we want to welcome you to the show today. How are you doing, dear sir?
Everything going well. Thank you very much for inviting me for this opportunity.
Well, great. We're so glad to have you on. So, Ruben, the name of your firm is called Holywood Realty. So we understand you cater a little bit to the stars. Can you tell me who you've dealt with and what this has been like?
Our company was dealing with different celebrities that was visiting the island before, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Julia Roberts, and others. They came in as a tourist here, and they really like the island, and then they decide to invest. Leonardo DiCaprio on an island here they call Blackador Key.
So when a lot of the stars come down for vacations, they just end up buying the property because they fall in love with the island so much, I understand.
That is correct.
That's terrific. Yeah. So what types of properties are they looking for? Are they looking for more of the islands, or are they buying other exclusive properties in and around the San Pedro area?
Most of the celebrities are looking like private islands. And also they have some luxury condo also in San Pedro.
So the condos are liking to them as well. That's great. So, Ruben, you've been there for more than 15 years. Who is the most interesting person that you've ever dealt with?
I lived here over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years. So I was dealing with different kind of people. Like celebrities. We have a lot of important people from the U.S. also in Canada. Difficult to mention all the different names. But we have a lot of important people that visit in the island, and they really like the vibe of the island. The people are very friendly, so you feel welcome to this island.
That's what I understand, and we've heard more about the people and how friendly they are, and just how easy it is to develop business relationships. So I imagine that it's very easy for visitors coming in to end up doing a real estate transaction down there.
That's correct, ma'am. That's correct.
Yeah. Well, we like to hear that. So, Ruben, we also heard from Paul earlier that there's been a real increase in the commercial end of real estate. What are you seeing happening in the residential area?
We have a lot of inquiry, like for commercial property. People looking for businesses, cash flow businesses. And they slow down a little bit residential, but people are still looking to buy also a house because they need a place to live in,
So a typical person that wants to come down there and, say, retire on your beautiful island, they can take a look at some beachfront property, and I understand it's very affordable for them. Give us an example of what we might see.
That's correct. We have beachfront property. You can have a beachfront property. I could say 70 by 100. The beachfront, you can get it like for $140 US. Depending on the location plus the size of the property, or the beachfront property, so you can go up to $600,000 also. With amenities, road access amenities, internet, telephone, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, Ruben, I'm going to get Suki to ask you a few questions here as well before we leave. So here's Suki.
Yes, sure.
Ruben?
Yeah. Yes, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you, Ruben?
Yeah, everything I well, sir.
Good, good. There's a couple of questions that I have for you. One is you mentioned a little bit about the real estate sector, and from what I know, and you must, even through Bob Dylan, it's really picking up now. Is that a good sign for the market? Is that a good sign for people why they should be investing at this point?
This is a good time to come and invest here. It's a very good time now because in real estate, I see a lot of people used to make a lot of good return on real estate here, so they continue that way. So we have a lot of property right now. It's very affordable.
Okay, and what would you tell people who are watching the show right now in terms of why they should come now? Why San Pedro? Why Ambergris Caye?
Because we have a lot of good property on the market, so the price is very attractive.
Good.
Now, as far as that's great, thank you, Ruben. Now, when we take a look at the oceanfront versus inland, we can still find some really great deals down there on oceanfront, I understand, as well.
That's correct. That's correct, ma'am.
That's great. Well, Ruben, we just wanted to thank you again so much for joining us here on Fuse Logic Television and the Jones Index. Like we've mentioned before, we are going to be coming down there, so we look forward to meeting you in person, and we'd love for you to tour us around and show us some of the properties that you have available. So thank you again for joining us.
It will be my pleasure to have it here, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you,
thanks,
Ruben.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Welcome, my friend, to Belize. And them fish ain't just for watching. In Belize, it's nearly impossible not to catch something. Your experienced English-speaking guide will reveal his secret fishing spots to stalk bonefish, permit, and tarpon, troll reef channels for barracuda and jacks, or brave the deep for my favorite, a kingfish or two. Of course, if you'd prefer, you can while away the day sailing, kayaking, or just relaxing beneath the coconut palms on one of the dozens of deserted coral sand islands. Looks like the visitors aren't the only ones enjoying the pleasures of the water. Eh, my friend?
Well, thank you. And that was a great little clip, more on some of what we're going to see when we go down into the Belize area, some great little fishing shots. And we're excited to partake in some of those recreational activities when we get down there. So we just wanted to wrap up today's show, and thank you for viewing. We wanted to mention that we're going to be joining Leona Wallace with Agents in Motion on a webinar February 28th. And Suki, why don't you just give us a little overview of what we're going to expect to see that night, talking about the pre-development lots in Bonefish Bay.
Brenda, we're going to see on the 28th, I guess via Skype webinar.
Right.
We're going to talk to Leona and her group of investors out in Kelowna, and hopefully some other viewers that have watched the show over the last 3 episodes now. Right. Hopefully they might watch it. And we're going to talk about opportunities in Belize, at Bonefish Bay, at Brahma Blue. And I got a special package, actually, of information from a release of lots on development by Bob Dylan.
Well, fabulous. We're so excited to be joining you with that webinar, and we look forward to joining our friends in Kelowna. So we'll be chatting to Leona over the next few days. So we want to thank our sponsors today, and we want to welcome you back next week with Ocean Developments as we look at the economy of Belize and why it's being touted as one of the world's hottest economies. It's a great place to be pouring into. So invest in what's rapidly appreciating today and reap the benefits of the virgin frontier of Belize and Ambergris Caye. So next week we're going to be joined by Bob Dylan, so we're very excited to have him on. So coming up next on Fuse Logic TV at 12:30 is Leona Young, host of the show Well Beyond. You'll see it on the Well and Wise online TV network. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.